Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, G.
Good morning, Dr.
How was your
Abati.
weekend?
It was excellent. It was
Great.
good. You look great. I
Thank
love
you.
your blue suit.
Thank you.
Good morning, Adeswa. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Oji. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Rufai. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Oji. How are you? How's it going?
Excellent. Thank
Morning.
you. Well, good morning to you, viewers. On what's trending today in Nigeria. First, Nigerians react as the army withdraws from the Lagos Judicial Panel amidst compelling evidence against it. Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje calls for proscription of cattle movement from north to south. Also,
my husband had just
wife
resigned.
of former Anambra State Commissioner cries out over missing husband.
Please, my husband had just resigned office on the 31st of December. Just got missing. For the past 2 weeks, I haven't heard from my husband. Please help.
Well, in the U.S., twice vaccinated congressman tests positive for coronavirus. And finally, under entertainment, Nigeria's submission for the 93rd Academy Awards, The Milkmaid, has been confirmed for the International Film Feature category. Well, let's begin in Lagos, Nigeria. Reactions have been trailing the Nigerian Army's decision to withdraw its legal team from the Lagos State Judicial Panel as more evidence confirms that soldiers shot at peaceful protesters last October. The Army's withdrawal from the panel comes after Reddington Hospital testified to treating victims from the NSAS protests with bullet wounds on October 20th, 21st, and 22nd, 2020. The panel's chairman, retired Justice Doris Okpe, warned that the Army would not claim denial of fair hearing when the panel submits its findings to the government. The last hearing, which was held on January 23rd, was the third time in a row that the Army and its lawyer failed to appear before the panel. Well, this has caused a lot of reactions over social media. I mean, I feel like it's a complete disregard to the judicial system in Nigeria. The Army Council says that it's withdrawing because the Army has not engaged them and they do not have anything to present to the judicial panel. Now, I think that it is important that the Army respects the civil authority and goes through this whole process. Adeswa.
I totally agree with you, Oji. This smacks of contempt for civilian rulership. And I also agree with Justice Okpe, the head of the panel, because the panel, in the spirit of Aldi Ultra Partem, which is the principle of fair hearing, invited the Nigerian military to come and give its own side of the story of what happened on that fateful night of October 20, 2020. But it's unfortunate that halfway through, the Army is now turning its back against a constitutionally formed judicial panel. Yes, it is true that they take their command and orders from the CNC, but they operated in Lagos on that day, and they were invited, according to them, by the Lagos State Governor. So I think that, they should not only appear, but also do all they can to ensure that this panel reaches, a conclusion, a reasonable conclusion, that enables everybody get a fair hearing and justice.
Correct. And
let's close the chapter of that fateful night. And of course, the issue of NSAS, but that's not connected with the Nigerian military. But that night, this is also happening a few days after we have a new chief of army staff. I would implore him and advise him and beg him, because he cannot, feign ignorance of this withdrawal by the Nigerian army from this constitutionally formed judicial panel.
Right.
I would implore him to ensure that they return and do all they can so that we can reach a reasonable conclusion. History will not be faithful and kind to him if he does not do the right thing. Let's hear the side of everyone's side of the story of what happened that night.
I agree with you, Dr. Abati. Questions are being raised whether or not the Army is afraid to be, put on the spot as, evidence emerging, as we see.
Well, what we know is that on Saturday, the panel of inquiry had tried to entertain 5 petitions that have been put forward against the Nigerian Army. And the Nigerian Army had no representation. I think A.T. Kende Akinlola, ACN, who is the lead counsel, was not there, but there was a counsel for the Nigerian Army, Agwe, as he was called, who now told our Lordship, Justice Okuobi, that in fact the Nigerian Army had withdrawn from the proceedings of the panel of inquiry since November 21.
Yes.
And that a letter was written to that effect by A.T. Kende, SAN, the lead counsel, since January 20. But the position of the panel is that, look, summons have been issued, and there's been no response on the part of the Nigerian Army. And it was on the basis of that that the chairman of the tribunal made a point that, look, when the panel writes its report, the Nigerian Army will not be in a position to say that they've not been granted fair hearing, which is a basic principle of law under Section 36 of the Constitution. Now, yeah, Adesua is right. There is a new Chief of Defense Staff in office. We were told that the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, was directly approached, but that the military did not provide further representation. Initially, they did. They had that team led by Kende SAN. They had General Ibrahim Taiwo, commander of the H1 division in Lagos, going there to make representations. So the question is, why did the Nigerian Army decide that it will no longer appear before that panel of inquiry? Now, the issues are as follows. One, the tribunal under Section 5, subsection C, and also D of the Tribunal of Inquiry Act 1966, 2004, has powers to summon anybody. And also, under the other section that I mentioned, to issue a bench warrant and issue penalties for refusing to appear before it. But if you look at the law, the penalty is for not appearing is 20 naira. And, you know, the enforcement will be by the police. So do you see the Nigerian police enforcing or forcing the Nigerian Army to come and appear before a panel of inquiry? Anybody can be summoned by a panel of inquiry. So that's within the powers of that tribunal. And, you know, the chairman of the tribunal has acted appropriately. And every group that is summoned is entitled to counsel under Section 18 of the same Tribunal of Inquiry Act. Now, why would the Nigerian Army then say it doesn't want to appear before that panel? What is available to the panel of inquiry is contempt of court as applicable in a magistrate court.
Correct. And
contempt can be in the face of the court or ex facie curia. But again, if you look at the enabling law, what can the panel do? The fine is, I think, 200 naira, or the option of 6 months imprisonment, 200 naira in 2021. So these are some of the issues that will come up. But clearly, I think the chairperson of the panel made a point that the Nigerian Army cannot claim that they've not been given the opportunity for panel of inquiry. But that panel also has powers, the specific individuals that have been summoned, to issue a warrant against them. Would that happen? Would the panel go as far? What Justice Okuobi has done is to say that the case has been extended till, I think, February 27, giving the Nigerian Army enough time to appear before that panel. And, you know, we're hoping that the new Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Lekki will pay attention to this, and in the spirit of change and new development, understand and pursue the fact that not even the Nigerian Army is above the laws of Nigeria. There's no institution, because the law is very clear, the Tribunal of Inquiry Act is very clear, nobody is above the laws of Nigeria. And the Nigerian Army has a responsibility to go there and support the process of determining the truth as to what happened on October 23rd at the Lekki toll gate in the course of the NSAS protest, particularly in the light of the new revelation by Dr. Lawson
Right.
The person in charge of trauma injuries at Reddington Hospital, who said that for about 3 days, he, as the head of the trauma injuries section of Reddington Hospital, had many cases. He said there were many casualties, gunshots.
Right.
But the Nigerian military, through General Taiwo, has said previously that only blank bullets were used, that nobody was shot. But now we have the hospital, Reddington Hospital, saying that there were many casualties. And Dr. Lawson stood, Kende Lawson, he stood before that tribunal and he said, look, this is what we know. So the military, the Nigerian army, has a responsibility to provide any counter evidence
and they cannot
that they may
say
have.
That they do not have anything else to provide. They need to prove that they are not guilty of this accusation, Rufai.
If we want to build a country, we should build a country where nobody, I repeat, nobody is above the laws of the land. That's what makes a country strong, and that's what makes a country a country. If laws are not in place, any country can just be any country, just be a banana republic where people can do anything they want to do. If memory serves me right, a panel was set up in the early 2000s to be able to heal this country called Oputa Panel. We saw the telecast of that on television. If my memory serves me right, the president of this country then, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, was summoned on that panel. And he appeared. He came with a counsel. Chief Afe Babalola was his lawyer. He was cross-examined by Mr. Falano, SAN, on that same panel. And we saw it being telecast on television, live in this country. So if there's an antecedent, I know you lawyers in the house, you always talk about an antecedent. If a president in this country can appear at a panel of inquiry, and he was cross-examined live on television, I don't see why anybody should not be able to appear on a panel, to be cross-examined, to be able to get the truth as regards a certain matter. So this is something we should all look at critically. For us to build this country, we need to go beyond rhetorics. We have to have the will. All the things we come and talk about every day on air here is because we've not had the will to be able to do what is right. We have to have the will, not just rhetoric. Rhetoric has never built any country. The will to match action to what you say has built a country. So I've just put an antecedent of the ground. If the former president of this country, the 7th president at that point in time, could appear at a panel and he was subject to critical cross-examination by legal seal.
All right, Rufai, we'll need to go on a short break. When we come back, What's Trending on the Morning Show continues.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Outrage News. And we're still with Ojinika Okpe with stories trending around the world. Oji, you're still in charge.
You can't help it, can you?
You're still in charge.
What is my
Ojinika?
Well, all right. Let's take another story. Reports are reaching us that the immediate past commissioner for Trade and Commerce in Anambra State, Dr. Christian Madubuko, has gone missing for more than 14 days. Dr. Madubuko, a Canadian-trained expert who served in about 3 ministries under the governor of the state, Willie Obiano, resigned as commissioner on December 31st last year, alleging threat to his life and sabotage against the administration. The commissioner is feared to have been kidnapped after his resignation for allegedly advising the governor to take full charge of his administration. While in a recent video, his wife, Chioma Madubuko, has appealed to the Nigerian authorities to identify his whereabouts. Let's take a listen.
I just heard over the social media that my husband was kidnapped. And since then, I've been making all reasonable contacts to the government, to people in Anambra State, but still, I haven't gotten any cogent response. Please, I'm calling upon my fellow Nigerians I and my children are calling because my children are so worried, so devastated. They have been asking me, Mommy, why are you looking this way? What is wrong with my daddy? Where is my dad? Daddy hasn't spoken to us in a while. What is it? So please, I don't really know where to start, but anyone who is hearing my voice at the moment, please should help me and speak to the authority to call upon the security agent in Nigeria to fall into action to find my husband. If you see the face of my husband anywhere in Nigeria, any part of the world, please contact me or contact the government. I don't know where to start. I don't even know what to plead for again. Please, I'm calling upon anybody. I'm seeking, please. Please, my husband had just resigned office on the 31st of December. Just got missing. For the past 2 weeks, I haven't heard from my husband.
Adeswa, this completely broke my heart when I saw this video yesterday of this woman crying. I mean, this woman, apparently the last time she spoke with her husband was January 13th, after her husband had told her that he had some kind of scuffle with, the administration. And for him to get missing, the community there in Canada have rallied around to try to raise awareness on this issue. And they've described it as a national embarrassment that nobody has said anything about this situation at this point, 14 days.
It is mind-boggling. I think there's an adage, I don't know if it's Yoruba, that says it's better for you to know that your loved one is dead than for them to be missing. And I can only imagine...
Adeswa, you speak Yoruba?
I spoke it in English.
That's a big revelation.
I'm a Nigerian, Dr. Abasi.
Okay.
So speaking seriously, it must be troubling for anyone to not have spoken to a loved one for 14 days. And according to the story, she said the last call she had with him, he was supposed to have a meeting with the secretary to the government of the state, Anambra State. But whatever this is, allegation has been made against insinuations that because there was a bad blood between him and the Anambra government, that they might have or know something about his whereabouts. So it would be nice for the government in Anambra to come out and clear its name and say what exactly they know. But additionally, I think that she needs to make more frantic efforts beyond being in Canada or Australia where she is. Perhaps family members need to, begin a real search of what has happened to him. It is unfortunate, it's sad, and I do hope that, they find him, they reunite, hopefully, very soon.
Dr. Abati, take on the story.
Well, very sad story. And, we sympathize with Mrs. Madubuko and other members of the family. Mr. Madubuko, former commissioner, we're told, is a Canadian-trained expert, but he was living in Australia with his family before he was invited to come and serve as a commissioner in his state. And now this has happened. Now, many Nigerians that are in the diaspora, who are often sometimes called upon to come and serve, will be discouraged by this. Oftentimes we say, there are many Nigerians abroad who have done very well, who have received excellent training, and the Nigerian government should reach out to the diaspora and bring that expertise. And then you have this sad story, a gentleman who has served as Commissioner for Trade and Commerce, and then he decided at some point, as many diaspora Nigerians eventually decide, when they come, they work within the Nigerian system, and they are confronted with the failures, with the failings, with the rot, with the lack of commitment by other Nigerians. And at some point, they will say, I want to leave. And in this particular person's case, he resigned, and almost immediately, he just disappeared. So I don't think it's a good story for our attempts in Nigeria to engage the diaspora community. This is not a good advertisement. Many persons in diaspora would cite this example. We hope it will have a happy ending at the end of the day, that he will be found and he will be safe and he will be alive. Okay, if that happens, good. But should anything happen to this gentleman, it's a minus for our attempts in Nigeria to engage with the diaspora. The other leg of it is the fact that, look, in Nigeria, if you go and work in government, the first thing they will tell you is that you cannot work out on government. That is very risky. Now, in other parts of the world, we see people who are serving in government, if they no longer want to serve in government, some of them for personal reasons. I know a presidential spokesman in the US who said he was not paying enough attention to his wife, and he resigned. It's in the book, All the President's Men. He left the job because he just wanted time with his wife. Okay? Now, here in Nigeria, you are not even given the opportunity, for the most part, for you to leave. People will tell you that you are embarrassing the principal, or you are trying to attack the state, or you are an agent of the opposition. Okay? I'm not saying that is the case in this regard, but these are some of the narratives out there. So a man resigns, almost immediately, you know, he disappears. The third part of it, in this case, is the security crisis in Nigeria.
Right.
The fact that anybody can be kidnapped, whether you are a man resigning from government, or you are a man visiting from abroad, or you are an ordinary citizen.
Or you're a student.
It sends a very bad signal about the security situation, that a man of his stature can just disappear like that into thin air for 2 weeks, and there is no information. But as I said, we sympathize with Mrs. Madubuko and the family, and we sincerely hope that this will have a happy ending, and that the security agencies will go to work and try to, ensure that there is a happy ending.
Rufai, we have only about 1 minute to the end of the show. A quick comment from you.
Very sad. Please, it should be brought out. I pray he's alive and well, so that we'll not have a case where I have to quote another Yoruba adage like Adesua started this morning, that the witch cried yesterday, the child died today. So we should all be very careful, but I hope all of this should be resolved in no time. I trust the security agencies in that state to do what is right and bring them out, and everything will be done. I trust this to have a happy ending. I believe, I pray so.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. I will see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.
And your name is still like Ojinika.
Why not?